Welcome again to Go Open, the only program in the world still only dedicated to open source. What is open source? Watch us and you'll find out. When will people catch on? I don't know, but hopefully they'll realize soon it's the hottest thing. Today we'll be looking at VoIP, that's Voice over Internet Protocol, which is where you use the internet to make phone calls instead of the people that you normally use to make the phone calls, who we can't mention because we can't. But it rhymes with Velcom. Later on in the program, we're giving away some fantastic prizes. DVD writers, computer monitors, all sorts of stuff, including clothing. There will be clues in the program, so pay attention if you, it's the right thing to do, really.
Open source software exists as a result of the combined efforts of millions of computer programmers, users, and software vendors from around the world. They share their intellectual property freely, and they believe that software should cost nothing and should enrich the lives of users. Open source software is the alternative and biggest challenger to closed source or proprietary software. It generally costs the user nothing. It can be distributed freely to anyone. Download it, use it, modify it, and give it away. It's a whole new world. Open source is the future of computing.
The internet, it's like a huge web, a stretchy web that stretches all over the world, connecting computers and of course thereby connecting people. So why shouldn't we use it to make phone calls? No, I'm asking you. Never mind. In a few weeks' time, even our legislation will change and the whole VoIP thing is going to be everywhere, literally.
Technological development in the last century has been spurred on by increasingly improved communication. From the internet to the cell phone, our ability to talk to each other has fueled innovation and helped businesses grow from local to global. The technological world has been described as a global village, but there are still some barriers to be overcome. Communication, for one, is the lifeblood of business, and yet those international calls are still extremely expensive. But that is all about to change, since the Minister for Telecommunications, Dr. Ivy Matsepe-Kasaburi, announced the deregulation of the telecommunications sector, effectively paving the way for South Africa to join the rest of the world in what is fast becoming the greatest revolution since the internet itself. It's called Voice over IP. In its simplest form, you can use a sound card and a headset with a microphone to let your internet connection replace the phone line. Dedicated software uses the computer's sound card to convert the sound to digital packets, which are sent over the internet to someone with compatible software on the other end, thus saving on international or even national call costs. But there's nothing new about this technology, according to Morkel Theunissen of the University of Pretoria Department of Computer Science.
The current situation in the telecommunication industry is that most of the back-end network is already IP-based. It's only the last mile to your house that's usually this telecommunication circuit switch still. And now taking that into your home, you'll be able to do a lot more stuff. So you'll be able to use the same line to do concurrently your telephone calls, your fax, your data, internet connection, and so on.
As technology becomes more ubiquitous and bandwidth becomes more available, the next stage will be to integrate the Internet protocol equipment with existing telephone networks, according to value-added network service providers, Molo Africa.
You can use it to start right out from a small company with 2 incoming lines from Telkom and 4 extensions to replace the traditional little PBX that you would have had in the corner by a PC running Linux that can now take these incoming calls and route it out to the extensions and allow these extensions to place outbound calls. But then with all the fancy features that go with that, such as music on hold or voicemail or least cost routing when you want to route outbound calls directly to the cellular operators, and then pretty sophisticated and advanced functions such as an auto attendant where you get the lady saying, please press 1 for sales, 2 for marketing, whatever, and finally even a conference bridge. So you can have this sort of system where incoming calls can all be joined together in one conference and people don't have to travel to attend meetings.
But this doesn't mean that the next generation of telephony will keep you tied to your PC. Mono Africa have produced an adapter that turns a standard telephone into an internet-enabled device.
So that you can run a conversation from this regular old telephone here over the Ethernet LAN as an IP conversation.
Behind all this runs an affordable open source tool called Asterisk. It's a version of Linux that has been developed to provide a range of IP telephony services.
It's one unified platform that serves as the basis for several different applications that can be built on top of it. Services such as interactive voice response, conferencing, call center functionality.
But the IP system wasn't designed to handle voice and video. When sending a data file via a network, it gets broken up into manageable data packets, which arrive at different times, and the system reassembles it on the receiving end. But if we were to do this to voice, it would sound something like this.
Hello? I'd like a really expensive computer, please.
Packets need to be in sequence, arrive at the user, so the voice call is recognizable to the end user. And that's why you have a carrier-grade standard of implementing the network layer.
Both telephone and IP networks have traditionally been cable-based, but now an opportunity exists for developing countries in Africa to leapfrog technology by implementing wireless networking, which can be a great deal less expensive and more accessible.
Providing internet access there is simple through wireless technologies, and once you've got the wireless data connectivity, which is already happening right now, it's pretty simple to just run voice over that, and therefore that will really make voice telecommunications very accessible, very inexpensive, and very widely available.
So the world's changing, and open source is a big part of that. So let's talk to Eric Raymond, the author of The Cathedral and the Bazaar, considered by many to be the Bible of the open source movement.
Eric, welcome to the show. We here in Africa are pioneering the open source movement. How was it for you as a pioneer all those years ago?
Just felt like something I had to do. I was tired of watching my people lose.
Why were they losing?
Because they didn't know how to market. They didn't know how to take the idea of open source software to the mainstream and make it persuasive to business people, to the press, to the mainstream culture. And it was about time somebody took that on.
Why do you so believe in the free and open software movement?
Because I've learned from experience over the last quarter century that keeping secrets is a bad idea when you're developing software. Software that's kept secret doesn't get sufficient peer review, it doesn't get sufficient scrutiny, and bugs lurk in it forever.
You were instrumental in getting Netscape to release their source code. Can you just tell us a bit more about that story?
I was sitting at my machine hacking on something, and I got email from somebody who I'd never heard from before, and pointed me at a web page which was a Netscape press release, and he said, "They mention your name." And so I wrote him back email saying yeah, this does look like somebody's been reading my papers, and I guess I should call Netscape and find out what's going on. So I realized at that point that fame was about to land on me, and I wasn't sure I was ready for that. The CEO had been briefing the national press about their new strategy of openness and had attributed to my work, and that meant the press was going to come calling. And I had to think a lot about whether I wanted to take that on or duck back into a hole. I decided to take it on, and that's why I'm talking to you today.
Tell us about your life as a hacker.
I should explain that anybody who tells you that a hacker is somebody who breaks into computers is talking through their hat. This is nonsense. True hackers are programming enthusiasts. They are people who love to build and improve software systems, and true hackers are the culture that gave you the Internet and the World Wide Web. And I became involved in that culture in, I guess, around 1976, when it wasn't even the Internet yet. It was the old ARPANET. I continued to be part of that culture and write code and share code and communicate with people and solve problems. I've been in it for more than 25 years now.
Coming up later in the show, we meet someone who had his life changed by open source. Oh, and Mark Shuttleworth will also be around to talk about a program that keeps people chatting all around the world. Of course, there are also prizes to be won, and we are putting the whole program on DVD. But not only that, we're also going to put together a package that includes some things, backstage things you shouldn't have seen, things you didn't see, and things we didn't even know were being filmed. And I really wasn't the person in that film. It was actually done by the GIMP. Go to goopensource.org for more info.